The Komodo dragon, the king of the lizards, is the world's largest and heaviest reptile, named after the island where humans spotted a dragon-like creature for the first time. The Komodo dragon is an endemic Indonesian species found on Komodo Island and its neighboring islands. These wild dragons typically weigh about 154 pounds or 70 kilograms, but the largest verified specimen reached a length of 10.3 feet or 3.13 meters and weighed 366 pounds or 166 kilograms. Males tend to grow larger and bulkier than females. They are incredibly strong and powerful with long, thick bodies, short, muscular legs, and an almighty tail that is used for both fighting and for propping the animal up when it's standing on its hind legs. Komodo dragons have 60 razor-sharp teeth, with the ability to replace themselves if damaged or lost. They can go through 4 or 5 sets of teeth in their lifetime, as they rely on their razor-sharp teeth and strong claws in attacking their prey. If its prey does not die from the attack, they have an even stronger weapon: their lethal venom. Their saliva contains 50 different strains of toxic bacteria, causing an instant and deadly infection in its prey. Komodo dragons can swallow huge portions of meat swiftly. Their stomachs expand quickly and can consume up to 8% of the dragon-specific body weight in a single meal. Once they have killed their prey or found a dead or decaying body, several dragons converge to share the meal together. The largest male dragon gets to eat first, followed by smaller males and females, with the juveniles eating the remains last. Many lizards eat plants, but Komodo dragons are carnivorous and eat almost any kind of meat, scavenging carcasses or stalking animals that range in size from small rodents to large water buffalo. Young feed primarily on small lizards and insects, as well as snakes and birds. If they live to be 5 years old, they move on to larger prey, such as rodents, monkeys, goats, wild boars, and deer. These reptiles are tertiary predators at the top of their food chain and are also cannibalistic. Although the Komodo dragon can briefly reach speeds of 10 to 13 miles an hour, or 16 to 20 kilometers per hour, its hunting strategy is based on stealth and power. It can spend hours in one spot along a game trail, waiting for a deer or other sizable and nutritious prey to cross its path before launching an attack. Most of the monitor's attempts at bringing down prey are unsuccessful. However, if it can bite its prey, bacteria and venom in its saliva will kill the prey within a few days. After the animal dies, which can take up to 4 days, the Komodo uses its powerful sense of smell to locate the body. The Komodo dragon's sense of smell is their primary method of detecting food. Using their forked tongues, they test the air for the scent of warm-blooded animals. They have a Jacobson's organ at the roof of their mouth that analyzes the information from the tongue and signals the direction of the potential prey. Their sense of smell is so acute, they can detect the smell of dead or dying animals up to 5 miles away. Komodo dragons are solitary and powerful predators, roaming territories dependent on the individual's size, covering a distance of around 2 kilometers every day. They are also known to be excellent swimmers, traveling from one island to another over a relatively long distance. Although they are solitary animals, several Komodo dragons will often gather around a single kill. To catch large animals, these lizards sit for hours, hidden in the vegetation, camouflaged by gray-brown skin. Then they ambush the victim with incredible speed and force. Although the Komodo dragon would have once been widespread across many Indonesian islands, they are today confined to just 5, which all lie in the Komodo National Park. The islands of Komodo, Retja, Gilimantan, Padar, and the western tip of Flores are the last remaining homes for these enormous animals that are most commonly found in open woodlands, along with dry savanna and on scrubby hillsides, and can also be found inhabiting dried-up riverbeds. It is thought that Komodo dragons evolved to be so big on these islands due to the presence of several large mammalian species that have since gone extinct. Today, however, they are becoming more threatened in their natural environments, with the loss of their habitats to deforestation for timber has pushed the last remaining populations into smaller and more isolated regions. Komodo dragons were discovered by Western scientists at the beginning of the 20th century. Since then, they have been an object of observation and have gradually become a popular tourist attraction. In 1980, Indonesia established the Komodo National Park to preserve and protect the endemic Komodo dragon and other endemic species of the rich marine environment, including the orange-footed scrub fowl and the Timor deer. Today, Komodo National Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The conservation status of the Komodo dragon has classified them as a vulnerable species. Despite all efforts, the influx of tourism can pose a threat to the environmental conditions of the dragon's natural habitat, interfering with their mating process and resulting in a decreased number of offspring. Moreover, Komodo dragons that live outside of the national park are also at risk due to the quick shrinking of their habitat, as impacted by the increased human population. Possibly the biggest threats for the lizards are the illegal poachers who steal the dragons to sell them at high prices. As you can see, Komodo dragons are extremely strong animals and have amazing qualities. But can they cope in Africa, among many other powerful animals? The wildlife of Africa is diverse and abundant. No other continent has the diversity of wildlife found in Africa, which spans the entire climatic spectrum from scorching heat to freezing cold. Mammals, birds, reptiles, fish, and insects have all been attracted to the area's diverse vegetation. More than 40 primate species, ranging from tiny galagos to massive gorillas, a wide range of antelopes, gazelles, and other hoofed animals, and 70 carnivore species are among them. The bird life is also abundant, with over 1,500 species found in the south of the Sahara. Africa also has the world's fastest land animal, the cheetah, the world's largest bird, the ostrich, and the world's largest land animal, the elephant. In Africa, there are giant tree-dwelling monitor lizards that are similar in size to Komodo dragons, but have a more slender build. The Komodo dragon has a more robust build for ground dwelling. As a hunting method, the Komodo dragon uses a combination of venom and mouth bacteria to deliver a fatal bite to water buffaloes on their hind legs, and then wait for them to die slowly. This method is unlikely to work with African herbivores that have evolved to defend themselves against ambush predators. They would probably notice the danger and run away. Although the Komodo dragon is a semi-aquatic and capable swimmer, it is much smaller than the Nile crocodile, which can reach a maximum size of 5 to 6 meters. Hippos are also very large and dangerous, so living in the water could not be a solution. Because dragons are ambush predators, they may be able to kill the zebra and wildebeest that are so common in the area. Even buffalo and giraffes could be harmed by highly toxic bites. The predators, on the other hand, are what will keep the dragons from spreading far. Dragons get much of their food from scavenging, but hyenas and vultures are more mobile and would easily dominate carcasses before the dragons can get enough food. They might even take the kills of dragons that were depending on venom to do the work. Lions would challenge them, and some would probably die as a result of their lack of caution. But lions prefer to hunt at night, and the lizards would be slaughtered while they slept. Leopards would act similarly. Africa is also famous for its temperamental herbivores. Elephants would sense that the dragons were carnivores and attack whenever they saw them. Even with its venom, a Komodo dragon is not nearly powerful enough to bring down the largest of all land animals. Rhinos would also probably take issue with them, resulting in gored dragons, and hippos would certainly attack a dragon given the chance. As Komodo is not a rainforest creature, it's unlikely the dragons could survive in the humid Congo, and nothing that large could make it in the Sahara. So, in conclusion, Komodo dragons would not be capable of making it in Africa. Can they cope in Australia? The climate of Komodo National Park is tropical and consists of a dry season and a wet season. The mean temperatures throughout the year are around 28 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Despite having a wet season, much of the region is arid. Australia, in comparison, has multiple climates owing to its immense size. It's mostly arid, except for the tropical north and temperate south. The mean temperatures across Australia is very similar to Komodo National Park, with an annual mean temperature of 27 degrees Celsius, or 81 degrees Fahrenheit. The similar climates between the Indonesian islands of the Komodo National Park and Australia suggest that, from a reproductive point of view, Komodo dragons could successfully lay and hatch eggs in Australia. Both the tropical climate in the extreme north of Australia and the arid climate covering large parts of the country mirror the climatic conditions found in Indonesia. There are predators in Australia that Komodo dragons would have to compete with for food and territory. Dingoes are Australia's top predator, and their behavior can tell us how well another predatory species would do if introduced to Australia. Dingoes eat a vast range of vertebrates and invertebrates, from kangaroos, deer, goats, and rabbits to reptiles, birds, and insects. Research shows that the dingo's diet is determined by location. Dingoes living in the arid, central region of Australia eat smaller prey such as reptiles, birds, and rabbits, whilst those living in the temperate and subtropical regions have access to medium and large mammals such as kangaroos. Depending on the Komodo dragon's range and preferred habitat within Australia, we could see them hunting a variety of species. In Indonesia, this is exactly what the dragons do. Younger dragons eat insects and small lizards, but adult dragons often eat birds and small mammals, as well as the larger species such as goats and deer. Having a broad range of diets would help the Komodo dragon to adapt and thrive in Australia. It means that food sources would be plentiful and varied. The Australian environment lends itself to a multitude of reptile species. 211 snake species, of which 100 are venomous, thrive there, as well as the well-known salt and freshwater crocodiles. Australia also hosts geckos, skinks, and monitor lizards. The lace monitor can grow over 6 feet long and weigh up to 13 kilograms. Komodo dragons are related to monitor lizards, although the lace monitor would be no match for the Komodo dragon. Its success in Australia can be attributed to its adaptation to its climate and environment. Like the Komodo dragon, lace monitors possess mild venom and are carnivorous, hunting reptiles, mammals, and birds, as well as eating carrion. They are also diurnal and solitary animals. All in all, the lace monitor is very similar to the Komodo dragon. It may not be as big or as powerful as the Komodo, but it hunts, behaves, and lives in a comparable manner. If Komodo dragons were to inhabit Australia, the characteristics it shares with the monitor lizard could cause fierce competition. Although Komodo dragons could feed on prey that was too big for the lace monitor, they also consume smaller species that could pose a threat to the food source of the monitor lizards. It is possible that Komodo dragons could thrive in Australia and even outcompete the monitor lizards already found there. Could they survive in North America? To answer this question, let's look into some of the things required for these animals to survive and thrive. We can consider the habitat and climate in North America, as well as the prey species available to them, and any threats such as those from predators or human activity. Firstly, habitat and climate. On their native Indonesian islands, Komodo dragons occupy hot, dry places. They prefer open grasslands, savannas, and tropical rainforests. Being cold-blooded, like all reptiles, Komodo dragons rely on the sun's heat for movement, metabolism, and digestion. Usually, after feeding on a large meal, Komodo dragons will find a hot, sunny spot to lie in. This speeds up digestion, which is essential when they've eaten up to 80% of their body weight in one go. Undigested food can spoil inside the dragon, causing severe illness or death. In North America, the state with a climate most similar to the Indonesian islands is Florida. With a tropical climate in its southern regions and an average annual temperature of 71.5 degrees Fahrenheit, Florida could provide the right sort of weather for Komodo dragons to survive. The average annual rainfall in Florida is about 54 inches, whilst on Komodo Island, it is just over 60 inches. Komodo dragons drink water from water holes, especially after a large meal, in order to help with digestion. They get most of their moisture from their food. The Florida dry prairie is a treeless expanse of grasslands that extends throughout the subtropical zone in Florida South. It is comparable to some of the open grasslands and savannas found on the islands of Komodo National Park. Komodo dragons also need soft ground to dig burrows and nests. The sandy soils of Florida's dry prairie may enable the dragons to dig easily. The burrows they dig in the soil are usually between 3 and 10 feet wide. They provide shelter and are used by the lizards to sleep in and conserve body heat. The nests that the female Komodo dragons dig are camouflaged to avoid predation. She sometimes lays her eggs in the nests of some ground-dwelling birds, covering them in soil and foliage to keep them warm and moist. She can lay up to 20 eggs at a time. The young hatch 7 to 8 months later and spend most of their time in trees to avoid predation. Komodo dragons are such expert diggers that they've been known to dig up human bodies from shallow graves. Locals now only bury their dead in clay soils and with a pile of rocks over the grave to prevent the dragons from digging them up. Now, let's consider prey. Komodo dragons are ambush predators. They frequently set up ambush sites that are cleared of vegetation and marked with their droppings. When prey, such as a deer, approaches, the Komodo will suddenly run or launch itself at it. They can reach speeds of up to 12 miles per hour and are capable of leaping up to 15 feet forwards. When hunting, they aim to bite the underside or throat of the animal. Contrary to popular belief, Komodos aim to kill most of their prey instantly, rather than waiting for the venomous saliva to do the work. However, injured prey does sometimes succumb to infection caused by bite wounds. Komodo dragons have poor vision and poor hearing, but their exceptional sense of smell helps them to detect carrion up to 6 miles away. They constantly flick their tongue in and out of their mouths and sway their heads from side to side in the characteristic gait they are famed for. Like all lizards, Komodo dragons possess Jacob's organ, which is an olfactory organ situated in the nasal cavity. It is used to analyze scent molecules collected on the lizard's tongue and pointed in the direction of potential prey. Prey species include invertebrates, other reptiles, birds, eggs, and mammals such as monkeys, wild boars, goats, pigs, deer, horses, and water buffalo. Young Komodos will also eat insects and small mammals such as rodents. Komodo dragons are also big carrion eaters, homing in on dead carcasses from miles away. If feeding on large animals, Komodo dragons can survive on just 12 meals a year. In North America, there would be plenty of prey species that are similar to those favored by Komodo dragons in their natural habitats. Deer are abundant across North America. In Indonesia, Sunda sambar deer are the Komodo's favorite prey. They typically weigh between 100 and 250 pounds and stand 30 to 40 inches at the shoulder. This is comparable to America's mule deer. Even America's abundant white-tailed deer could be considered within the Komodo dragon's size range for deer kills. North American deer species that are considerably larger than the dragon's usual include elk, moose, and caribou. However, Komodo dragons do take down huge water buffalo, relying on their venom and deep bite wounds to eventually kill the animal from blood loss and infection. If they occupied similar habitats to these large deer species in North America, then they could certainly be on their menu. Rodents would provide food for Komodo dragons throughout America. Small rodents such as mice, rats, and voles are found in abundance, and larger rodents like marmots, woodchucks, and beavers are also found throughout North America. Wild hogs, like those found in Indonesia, are in all counties of Florida, the state we consider most favorable for its climate and habitat. These animals could all be considered prey for the dragons if they were to inhabit the states. Finally, let's look at threats to Komodo dragons. Komodo dragons are apex predators in their natural habitat. Apart from fights between conspecifics, they are rarely attacked by other animals. Their skin is incredibly tough. It is covered in small bone-like structures called osteoderms, which act like natural chainmail for defense. The biggest threats to Komodo dragons are the destruction of their habitat and climate change. Ongoing human activities destroy Komodo habitats, and they are now considered endangered by the IUCN. Furthermore, as global temperatures and sea levels continue to rise, their habitat is likely to decrease by at least 30% over the next 45 years. Florida, which we believe to be suitable habitat for dragons, is also at risk from rising sea levels, and its wildlife is in danger from invasive species, climate change, loss of habitat, urbanization, and pollution. In conclusion, we believe that Komodo dragons could survive in North America. We have suggested Florida because of the similarities of its climate, habitat, and prey to Komodo National Park in Indonesia, with its grassland prairies, surrounding woodland, and biodiverse Everglades. Florida is also home to the abundant wildlife that Komodo dragons could hunt. But there are other states that deliver more of the same. Hawaii, Louisiana, and Texas are some of the hottest states. The Great Plains running down the center of North America offer open grasslands, and Texas has the highest population of white-tailed deer in North America. Although Komodo dragons don't actively hunt humans, there are reports of attacks on locals which have proven fatal. Having the largest lizard in the world roaming around the United States may be an awesome sight, but it may also be the last thing you see.
But could they survive in the Amazon rainforest? In the Amazon rainforest, Komodo dragons would have an abundance of mammalian and reptilian prey to eat. Juveniles are adept climbers and may climb into the branches to catch their prey. Larger dragons can stand on their hind legs, using their muscular tail for support as they reach into the trees. Various species of monkeys, sloths, a variety of birds, and iguanas are just some of the tree-dwelling animals that could be taken by Komodo dragons in the Amazon. Juvenile Komodo dragons would also escape the rainforest predators by hiding in the canopy. If the jungle isn't too dense for the Komodo dragons, then they may be able to use it to their advantage. By concealing themselves in the undergrowth, they would be able to stealthily move in on their prey and detect it using their incredible sense of smell. They are said to be able to detect carrion up to 6 miles away. This would serve them well in the jungle, where line of sight might be obscured. They could hone in on injured prey or carrion and locate it with ease. Peccaries, capybaras, and even tapirs could replace the wild pigs they are used to in Indonesia, whilst several species of deer such as taruka, red and gray brocket, and white-tailed deer would also be familiar to them. The discovery of the Komodo dragon's venom glands has led to disputes among scientists. The gland secretes a toxic mixture of proteins that inhibit blood clotting, lower blood pressure, cause muscle paralysis, and introduce hypothermia, all of which lead to shock and the loss of consciousness in envenomated prey. However, some scientists have said that this venom is not used to capture prey. Instead, the main factors leading to death are blood loss and shock. But the venom glands could come in use in the Amazon, where they could be used for something that isn't necessary on the less Sunda Islands, and that is a defense against predators. Whilst adult Komodo dragons are apex predators on their Indonesian islands, the food chain may be shuffled up a little if they were to be let loose in the Amazon. Young Komodo dragons are eaten by adult dragons, feral dogs, wild boars, civet cats, and snakes. But adults aren't hunted by anything due to their large size and ferocious temperament. But in the Amazon, even the adults would have to be on the lookout for any potential predators, as they would not be at the top of the food chain. On land, jaguars prowl the dense vegetation of the Amazon rainforest. With the strongest bite relative to the size of all the big cats, jaguars can crunch down on prey with an impressive 1,500 psi of bite force. They would be able to crack the skull of a Komodo dragon if they were stealthy enough to attack without being seen. They're obligate carnivores. Whilst jaguars eat a range of animals from peccaries to marsh deer to turtles and caimans, their favorite prey is capybara and giant anteaters. However, jaguars are not the most feared predator of the Amazon. In the waters, Black caiman can grow up to 6 meters or 20 feet long. They consume similar prey to jaguars, such as tapirs, capybara, and peccaries, but they have been reported to eat jaguars themselves too. They make for a dangerous trip to the water's edge when taking a drink. It wouldn't be something the dragons would be used to. And that's not the only predator that jaguars fall prey to in the South American jungle. The green anaconda is the heaviest snake in the world, and they have been known to wrap their coils around jaguars and eat them whole. There are many dangers the Komodo dragons would be exposed to in the jungle. They could certainly be on the caimans and the anaconda's list of prey, should it call the Amazon home. As a result, they would have to change their behavior in order to survive. Many prey species are cautious when they are feeding, as this is when they are vulnerable. They often feed in herds and sound alarm calls when danger is detected. Some even rely on other species to alert them to a potential predator, such as deer, relying on the alarm calls of some birds. Komodo dragons may be able to detect incoming predators with their incredible sense of smell, and their venom glands may prove deadly to an animal brave enough to attack them. Some animals sleep in groups with one member always on the lookout for danger. Komodo dragons are largely solitary animals. However, if they shifted down on the food chain in the Amazon, they may be safer living together in groups. Maybe they could team up with their lifelong partners, which could enable them to keep a lookout for each other. On Indonesia's Lesser Sunda Islands, Komodo dragons prefer the tropical forests. They can walk for several miles a day, but tend to stay close to the place where they hatch. The tropical forest of the Amazon could provide the right sort of habitat for these enormous lizards, as it wouldn't be too dissimilar to what they are used to. To maintain their body temperature, Komodo dragons dig burrows in the ground. They use their powerful claws to dig these up to 3 meters wide and sleep in them. Conserving their body heat in this way means that dragons don't have to commit themselves to prolonged periods of basking in the early morning sun. The climate of the Lesser Sunda Islands is similar to that of the Amazon. Both are tropical and hot. However, the average temperature across the Indonesian islands is more consistent than the Amazon, which has peaks in temperature during the dry season. It is likely the Komodo dragons would take advantage of the hotter periods during the drier months and be more active during that time. The only concern about Komodo dragons living in the Amazon regarding climate would be the humidity and amount of rainfall. Although parts of the Indonesian islands are tropical, the giant lizards aren't used to the wet conditions they would experience in the Amazon. The reproductive habits of Komodo dragons are unusual for 2 reasons. The first is that males and females tend to form pair bonds and therefore mate for life. This is rare for lizards. Komodo dragons only ever come together for feeding and mating. The second characteristic is that female Komodo dragons can reproduce through parthenogenesis. This means that they don't require outside fertilization from a male and can produce offspring without mating. This could allow a small population of Komodo dragons let loose in Amazonia to become established and grow their numbers easily. It is thought that this is the reason for this unusual behavior. It allows the reptiles to establish populations on isolated islands. However, parthenogenesis reduces genetic variation, which makes the species vulnerable to environmental pressures such as climate change and disease. If Komodo dragons could survive the wetter conditions and fluctuating temperatures of the Amazon rainforest, then it is possible that they could do well there. There would be plenty for them to eat, and plenty of space for them to establish and maintain a territory. Introducing such a large predator into the ecosystem would certainly shake things up a bit, and there would be competition for food with other predators in the area. Their diet would overlap with other animals. If prey species could maintain their numbers, then the Amazon could provide food security for the dragons.
Could they survive on the Brazilian island of Snake Island? To answer this question, we need to consider what food is available to the dragons on this island, and whether the habitat and climate are suitable for their existence. Snake Island is a deadly place. Except for a few select researchers and the Brazilian Navy, no one is allowed to set foot there. This is for their own safety and that of the island's limited wildlife. It is a small island, located approximately 20 miles off the coast of Brazil. Its name is given due to the large number of golden lancehead pit vipers. These venomous snakes are critically endangered and, given the sanctuary and isolation of the island, have grown to overwhelming numbers on the island. They have been trapped there since the last ice age, when rising sea levels cut off the island from mainland Brazil. The snakes have adapted and evolved to feed on migrating birds that land on the island. Komodo dragons consume up to 80% of their body weight in a single sitting. The largest of these lizards ever recorded weighed a massive 366 pounds, or 166 kilograms. Although this was a captive-bred specimen, it would have required 290 pounds, or 130 kilograms of meat to sustain it during mealtime. So, is there enough food for the Komodos on Snake Island? The only predators currently living on the island are the pit vipers. These snakes take advantage of migratory seabirds that land on the island. They mostly hunt in the small rainforest section of the island, hunting in the trees for any unsuspecting birds. They have evolved over thousands of years and have developed extremely potent venom in order to kill the birds quickly, without them being able to fly away. It is said that their venom can kill a human in under an hour. So, good luck to anyone unfortunate enough to shipwreck on this deadly island. There are thought to be 2,000 to 4,000 vipers on the island, and at their most dense location, there is reportedly one snake in every meter. There are no other animals for the snakes to feed on, so it is very unlikely that Komodo dragons would find enough food. Even if they managed to avoid the pit vipers and their venomous bites, they probably wouldn't be able to survive on seabirds alone. Young Komodo dragons are known to eat birds and bird eggs, but these wouldn't be enough for an adult. Of course, if Snake Island was turned into a Komodo dragon sanctuary and stocked with enough prey animals to sustain a population of dragons, then the climate and habitat would need to be taken into account. Most of the island is covered in open grassland, interspersed with rocky outcrops. There is a small area that is covered in rainforest. In the Lesser Sunda Islands, where Komodo dragons are endemic, the habitat preferred by the giant lizards is mostly dry, open grassland savanna and rainforest. The young often climb trees to search for prey and remain hidden from potential predators. The small rainforest on Snake Island would provide suitable habitat for the young dragons and the open grasslands for the adults. But the small size of these areas would likely only support a small population of Komodos. In the wild, Komodo dragons have a large territory. This means the island would only be suitable for very few dragons, if any. Studies have recorded home ranges to vary as much as 170 to 530 hectares, which is far greater than the size of the island at 43 hectares. So, although the habitat may be favorable for dragons, the size would be seriously limiting. And that's not all. The climate of Snake Island differs from the Lesser Sundas. The Komodo dragons are used to temperatures ranging from 18 degrees Celsius, or 60 degrees Fahrenheit, to 37 degrees Celsius, or 99 degrees Fahrenheit. The rainfall they endure varies throughout the year, as the Lesser Sundas has a tropical wet and dry climate, with a clear rainy season from December through to March. The Komodo region is the driest in Indonesia, with annual rainfall averaging 800 to 1,350 milliliters per year. This means that the dragons are used to far more rainfall than what's available on Snake Island, which is minimal in comparison. Rainfall on the Brazilian island ranges from 0.2 milliliters, which is less than a tenth of an inch in July, to 135 milliliters, or 5 inches in December. In comparison, temperatures are relatively mild on Snake Island, reaching lows of 18 degrees Celsius, or 64 degrees Fahrenheit in August, to 27 degrees Celsius, or 81 degrees Fahrenheit in March. The climate and weather of the island might not be the only thing that could prove unsuitable for Komodo dragons. Given the isolated nature of the island, the snakes that currently live there are increasingly under threat from inbreeding and low genetic diversity. This means if a disease enters the island from seabirds or people who venture there, then it could sweep through and decimate the snake population. The same could be true for Komodo dragons. Scientists have found that snakes evolved from lizards and are therefore more advanced in the evolutionary journey. However, Komodo dragons are thought to be the most intelligent lizards alive, rivaling some mammals. Having a low genetic diversity amongst more intelligent animals can have significant implications for the species. Without the ability to reproduce with other Komodo dragons outside their home range,
the lizards would develop this low genetic diversity from inbreeding. This puts them at significant risk, and with today's ever-changing global climate, they would be less likely to adapt to environmental changes that came their way. There is also the potential threat of the deadly golden lancehead pit vipers. The high number of vipers could prove deadly for the Komodos. The snakes typically prey on small animals, such as perching birds, lizards, and even other vipers, but would deliver a venomous bite if threatened or trodden on. But this may not be a problem for Komodo dragons, as they possess genes that make them immune from their venom. So, during fearsome conspecific battles, the dragons are unlikely to succumb to the venom of their opponent. This may also make them immune from pit viper's venom, which holds anticoagulant properties similar to that of the Komodos. In conclusion, although the habitat of Snake Island might be appealing to Komodo dragons, the very nature of the island would prove uninhabitable for these giant lizards. Its isolation would, after generations, likely prove fatal to the dragons. They would lack a sustainable food source, unless they were able to develop predatory skills to catch the passing seabirds like the snakes have. Even then, the birds probably wouldn't provide enough nourishment for these giant reptiles. Overall, we do not believe that Komodo dragons could survive on Brazil's Snake Island. But what a deadly island it would be for any adventurer who landed on its shores if both Komodo dragons and golden lancehead pit vipers lived there. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. You can also leave a comment with what you would like to see in the following videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time!